Welcome to another episode of the HaskinCast Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and today we are here on a special Saturday episode 354, the cast and crew of the film Maya, all the way from Arizona. I think everybody's in Arizona. Let me just go ahead and introduce our panel. We have writer, director extraordinaire, Paul Eeinhuis. Paul, how are you doing?
Doing very well. Thanks for having us on.
It is absolutely my pleasure. We have the actress who plays the character Olivia, Natalie Andrews. Natalie, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Excellent. And of course, we have Maddox, Vic Rogers. Vic, how are you doing?
Pretty good, thank you.
No, I don't know. Are you guys, are you two both in Phoenix also?
Yes.
You are? Okay, good. That way I just have it all in my head now, because I've just met you guys, so I should have asked before. And of course, I never, I always think I need to do this and this and this before I start the show, and I never do it. And so I always start the show looking completely unprofessional, which just takes the pressure off. Now you guys know I'm not, and we can go forward. Of course, we also have returning champion to the show, the actress who played India. We have Jessica Eeinhuis. Jessica, how are you?
I'm great, Scott. How are you? Missed you.
I'm doing very well. Missed you too. You were on episode 69, which was back on September 18th of 2019.
Yes.
So it's been 4 years since you've been on the show.
4 years, yeah.
Now, am I wrong? Did Vicky Sandoval do the makeup for the film?
Yes, she did.
She did, yeah.
She was amazing. She did.
So I met Vicky the same day I met you at the same event. And then had you both on the show. I think she was on episode 64, because she had a couple gigs and couldn't make it on. So she was shortly after. And that was also the same time, that was the last time I saw in person our final panelist playing the title role of Maya and returning grand champion to the show. This is her third time here, the mighty Victoria Paege. Victoria Paege, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you. I love your headpiece. What do you call that?
Thank you. It's a hood.
There you go.
Basically, this is me all of the time now. So
it looks very, very cozy
over my headphones.
It's confusing me with all this wardrobe technical talk.
Yeah, exactly. Victoria, you've been on the show twice. Your first appearance was all the way back to episode 9, October of 2018, and then episode 24 in January of 2019. So welcome back.
Thank you. It's been a lot longer than I realized, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me and us.
Yeah, when I pulled that stat this afternoon, I was like, holy crap, it's really been a long time.
It's crazy.
But welcome everybody to the show. Now, I want to tell you, the way that I have things set up is a little bit weird. So my setups are two 43-inch televisions. So my camera is direct, but you guys are all like in a much bigger square. So if it looks like I'm not looking at you, I probably am. So it's just a little off-putting. I haven't figured out a solution for that. But I also like to be able to see all the little tiny audio bits and things that I work on. So I went with larger televisions, and it works great. Paul, I'll start with you, because you're the writer, director. I'm going to take a short step back in time and tell everybody how we met, because this is a bizarre little story. I wanted to get into film composing, and I thought, I don't know how to meet anybody. I don't know how to get into this. So I started by just doing some internet searches, and I found a little ad on MySpace. So like when the internet was in black and white. And it was somebody that was looking for additional music for their film. And I thought, well, I mean, this could be anywhere in the world, right? But I reached out, and a couple of days later, I heard back from you. It was Paul, and you were looking for some additional music for your film, The Domain. And we hit it off pretty quick. And I said, you told me what you're looking for. And it was a piece of dance music for a club scene. And I said, okay, perfect. Give me an hour. And I got off the phone and I went, what the fuck did I just say that for? I didn't know anything about dance music. Yeah. Who does that? I didn't know anything about dance music. So I jump on Amazon, and I'm starting to listen to sound clips. I'm like, okay, I get it. And 55 minutes later, I sent you a piece that you really liked, and it ended up in the film. And then you asked me to do a couple more pieces for the film. That film was called The Domain, which I am very happy to be a part of that history. That was the very first film that I ever did music for. So thank you, Paul.
you.
That's
Thank you.
amazing.
I mean, I mean, I'm not a big dance music guy myself, so I knew what I was expecting. And yeah, for the short turnaround time, it was absolutely, that's when I knew I was dealing with the real deal here, you know. Even if it's not his strong suit, boy, he just kind of morphed into it.
Well,
So,
thank you. And then you asked me to make the piece longer. You liked it so much you wanted me to make it longer. I'm like, I don't know what else to do with it. Okay. So that was a lot of fun. And then we stayed in touch. You helped me connect with the Phoenix Independent Filmmakers Group, where I ended up doing a ton of work through them. So thank you for that. That was a very interesting day. You invited me to a 48-hour film challenge, pre-challenge meeting where people could just get to know each other and join teams. And it was a neat little meet and greet. I didn't meet anybody and the whole time. And then at the end, when I'm waiting to say goodbye to Paul, you were talking to Tamara McDaniel, and I'm just politely waiting there. And she turns to me and went, "You're a composer, you're with us." And the rest is history.
you were adopted from that point forward. Yes.
Very much so. But let me ask you, so you've worked on a number of projects, so you're not a brand new filmmaker. Where did you come up with the concept for Maya? What was the inspiration for that?
This was, I'm one of those guys that kind of writes down notes. I've got story ideas and things that I kind of keep in a, kind of an idea book that I kind of reference. And I've always wanted to do something that was kind of based on like a female soul collector kind of a thing. That was the kind of the origin of it. And then there were other aspects, things that I liked about, just different philosophies about, there's a thing in Maya where we talk about the, you're born, the reason babies cry is because they're scared, everything is new. And so the only way to transfer from this life into the next life is to revisit that primal state of fear. And that's the underlying current of it. But what's actually sewed all these kind of weird loose ends together was a song by George Harrison called Beware of Darkness. And there's a lyric in there where he said, beware of darkness. And then in verse 2 or so, it's like, beware of Maya. And that's when it all started to click, because what Maya was in this context was like a Hindu philosophy of kind of stripping away the facade of life in order to move to a higher plane of existence. And so, that was the thread that sewed all these weird sort of story ideas together, in that Maya was a concept, but I could also make Maya a person that becomes that kind of conduit from one thing to the other. So Maya then became this female Grim Reaper. But ultimately, it was based on a song that was loosely based on Hinduism.
I would not have guessed that. I love the way that you wove some real lore into that. It's interesting. I'm one of those people that believes that there's art in everything. It's just a matter of finding what it is that might inspire you about something. Somebody told me once, the fact that I wear glasses, there's a song in that. The fact that I like clouds, there's a song in that. You know, there's really something that can be created by everything if you're just open enough to it. And you seem to be one of those people that whether you try to or not, you're probably going to see something in something, whatever you happen to come across or hear or look at. It could be overwhelming though sometimes, right?
It can be. I like that kind of creative process, so that things like that don't really overwhelm me necessarily. I like sometimes things don't work and you just kind of, you know what, I'll just put it aside for now. And at some point it circles back around. There's other ideas, like some scripts that I have kind of lined up possibly for next year and such, things that just kind of, they wrote themselves. I sat down and the whole idea, came out. But other times it's kind of, you got a kernel of an idea, there's something there, but it's part of it. I mean, writing is a process, as they say, and learning to work through those elements where you're stuck to kind of ultimately create the vision that you have. There's a kernel of something in there. You're just not sure what it is yet until you've actually gotten through that whole process. And so, I tend not to get overwhelmed by any of it. It's just one step at a time.
I had about a month or so ago, a friend of mine was here in Vegas, and we had lunch because, a lot of people come through Vegas. So I probably get to see more of my friends than most people that live out of town. And of course, not sober, but, you take what you can get. And she was telling me about this really weird sound that her ice maker was making. And I said, wait a minute, what was that? And then next thing I know, I'm tapping out a rhythm on the table. It's like, you can't, that was a moment that I had this realization. It's like, you can't shut it off. It's always there, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The art, and I'm sure, and I know you well enough to know that you kind of do this too, is that when that kind of kernel of inspiration comes through, you want to explore it and you want to kind of bring it up, make it into something. So there's no idea that, it may not be today, but no idea really goes, no, I don't like that, unless it's genuinely bad, which does happen occasionally.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you know that there's value in the underlying concept, but the process, the development of that of that idea has not come to fruition yet, then it's just a matter of working it. And you've done that with your music. I do that with the screenwriting and such. And it's just, after a while whether it's a good idea or not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you flesh it out. And there's definitely some things that I've started writing where I'm like, I really like this. Now I've ruined it. And you just move on to the next thing. You save it for a rainy day. Sometimes you might pick that up and go, all right, I lost the track for it before. Maybe I can find something in it today.
Well, I had a script that was from way back when, probably right after The Domain, and this one was actually picked up as optioned for a while there, but it was never made. And I really liked the underlying concept of it. I won't get too much into it, but since so much time has passed, I've seen that idea pop up in other films, and so okay, no, there's enough kind of, it's not as fresh an idea as it was 10, 12 years ago when it was written. And so, but I revisited and I took a look at it and it's like, you know what, this still kicks ass. I like this little piece of it here, and nobody's done this piece, so I just kind of reworked it and turned it into something else, and salvaged the good pieces of the ideas, and the stuff that has been done by other people, although terribly, I must add, you just jettison that and you come up with a new idea.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of creativity. I want to be really careful because the film's not out there for people to see yet. So I don't want to give away too much. So my questions might seem a little bit vague. And I'll let you guys fill in as much as you want to or feel comfortable. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and ask each of you guys how you got involved with the project. And one thing that I do want to say about the film is because it's a horror film that's set outside at night. One of the things that I really like that you did, Paul, is you made it very individual for each character. So there's a lot of isolation. There's a lot of personal moments that, you're kind of acting out without really anybody else being involved. So I want to know how that is for you guys as actors to work without playing off of people as much as you're used to doing. How you took that as a challenge or how you felt. Natalie, let's start with you.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Was a lot of fill in. I think like your imagination is your best friend as an actor. And if you can just sort of play by play, imagine what is coming back at you and tune into that. It is challenging. It is very different. My roots are in the theater, so I definitely, this was my first feature film as well, so I definitely had some growth in the process, but I think the special effects do a lot to fill in this film as well.
Yeah, I find it interesting. There's so many differences between performing on stage and doing film. But the thing that makes me sad, because I've done a couple of plays, both as an actor and as an audio engineer and as a musician up here. The thing that makes me sad about theater is that nobody films it. So like you build this family and then you just have memories. There's not like a movie where I can watch The Domain right now. I could just say, all right, guys, thanks for the interview and just go watch The Domain. You can't do that with theater. It's all.
Yeah, I think that's part of the beauty of it too. It really is supposed to be experienced in person with that like in-person human connection. So they really are two different art forms. But I think the pandemic changed how people, that there is a lot of recording going on in the theater. And, there is a lot available, like there's, some Broadway streaming, but you're right. It for the most part, it's kind of like poof, you make it and it's gone.
Right. I mean, it's like not everybody can make it to Broadway, but we would love to see the ability to see the shows,
Yeah.
Vic, let's go to you next. How did you get involved and how do you feel about the isolation as an actor?
Well, I mean, we did this I think about 2.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. We started this, and the audition was great. It's crazy because of course, I don't know if you know this, but I'm only the black guy in the film. I don't know if you knew this.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. I didn't, just so you know. But so when I went to audition, of course I seen everybody I knew, a lot of the black actors there already. I'm like, geez, look what's going on here, and so I figured that it was probably be one of us get picked or whatever. So we did the audition, and I got blessed to get picked for it. But it was a great experience. Uh, After watching the film, I didn't really realize how much time I actually was alone away from everybody else. I was like, damn, there was nobody else there, or how it was cut and everything. So, but it was definitely a unique experience. Yeah.
For sure. How about you, Jessica?
Well, I got involved. I met Paul on the set of another movie called Coyote. And we had really good chemistry. He put out some feelers for an actress, and I came to the calling, hoping that I could get the part for this horror movie. I mean, everybody wants to be in a horror movie. The writing seemed to be, right down my alley. And the character that I was playing is a lot like myself, so I felt pretty natural in the entire process. So that's pretty much how I got involved.
Interesting. How did so much isolation feel to you while you were working?
It was pretty primal. There were times, I mean, we worked in the coldest of cold, by ourselves. I only knew what was on the script and what the others were, trying to portray. And I tried to take the way the other actors acted and just tried to base my performance off of what I thought that they would, be doing in the scenes before and after.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Victoria Paege, how about you?
Paul, do you want to tell this one? No, no. So I had worked with Paul before on A Man Called Nereus. I was living in LA. I think I'd just come back I think I was visiting my dad. And we set up a meeting, and he wanted to talk to me about this film. And he did a really beautiful job at describing exactly how we did the premise, and where he came up with the idea. And then he told me that let me know, basically, and I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but when he thought of Maya, he had envisioned me, which I was very flattered. But I'm like, well, am I evil, Paul? I don't know. But no. So, we worked together a little bit to see, make sure that I was going to be good in the role, how I felt with the script and everything. And then we went from there and met the cast, and yeah, it was a really cool experience.
I should take a quick step back also and talk about how you and I met, because that was also very weird. We had actually worked together before we met. I had done music for a pilot that I wish to this day had been made, because that would have been such a fun series. But I remember, I'm working on the music, and I just stopped and I just watched it a couple times, without music, without thinking about music. And I thought, this girl is really good. Like she just has some essence about her that she's really got something. And and that just made me even more excited to be a part of the project, which, like I said, unfortunately never came to fruition. And then I wanted to do that's all right. I wanted to do a project, and I thought of you for it. And so you were going to be at Phoenix Comic-Con.
No.
And so we scheduled to meet up. I couldn't find you, so we didn't meet up. And then we accidentally ended up in the same green room together.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
I remember that.
Yep, which was kind of just serendipitous. And then you ended up voicing the character of Shelley on my Sanity's Edge album. And you were also on the cover of my Mental Sauna 2 album. So we've had quite a few projects that we've done over the years together. But yeah, it's been quite a ride. Paul, let me ask you, kind of flip the question on you a little bit. As the director, is it more difficult to try and capture those moments with people working by themselves than it is with people interacting?
It wasn't in this case, and we kind of go back a little bit to one on this. I had a JC who plays Marco had helped with some casting, and Danita Williams Trigg. These are people that have been in and around film for a little bit, so we were all kind of looking for the same thing. But what I really wanted was for whichever actor got these roles during these auditions to have the essence of that character. The reason that Victoria was always kind of the inspiration for that is because I remembered the role that she had played in A Man Called Nereus, and she played a very kind of soft, feminine kind of. But the little bit that I did know her at the time, there was something in her eyes. She was a strong person that I thought I could kind of exploit. Is that, the demeanor is very, petite and not necessarily intimidating, but then she could stare a hole through you. And that was one of those elements that I wanted with her. And that's why she was kind of the issue. I think she's chuckling there. Yeah, and so all of the actors that were cast all had elements of those characters. I mean, Vic, I loved Vic at his audition, and because his role was a little bit different than some of the others in that it had an element of silly to it, but I didn't want it to become a joke. I didn't want his character to be, made fun of, and he was able to uniquely ride that line where he can play it silly, but it's always like he's in command of the joke. He's almost in command of how much he'll allow you to kind of laugh at it. So in the movie where he's got this bolt fishing spear gun or something like that, and it looks like a freaking toy, and he's just running around. And as the movie goes on, he's like using it for self-defense, and it's a serious scene, but I just laugh every time I see that because he's just playing it pitch perfect.
I have seen A Man Called Nereus, great movie. I know I have the DVD. I think I have it on digital too, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to do a watch party or something one of these days on that film. That'd be a lot of fun. It's interesting because when you read a script, you can see something in it, but it's also so static. It's like without knowing who's playing the other characters, without knowing what it's really going to look like, what your environment is. It can be really daunting, I think, sometimes looking at a script. So I want to ask you guys, as and I'll go around in the same order, as you guys looked at the script and thought about what your character might be. What was your vision of the film versus how it actually turned out? Natalie, I'll put you in the hot seat first.
Wow, yeah. I mean, that's a big question. I mean, I think it was really, really hard to imagine the sequence of events when we were first filming it, because time is such a huge element, and like the sort of like nebulous feeling of time and how we're shifting time a lot. I think that was probably the most difficult thing to grasp. Like, okay, wait, where are we? When are we? And like, in a lot of ways, it doesn't matter. And hopefully I'm not giving away spoilers here. No? Nothing too much? Nothing too much? Okay. So
okay.
That I think was the hardest part to grasp. But I think like when you think about it as an actor, you're like, okay, none of that really matters. I just need to play this moment right now and like what's going on in this moment. So I think like the biggest surprise was how all of that came together and how all of that filled in. And like, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that.
I think that would drive me insane. I think the idea of, and I'm not an actor. I mean, I've done a couple of gigs, but I'm not an actor. So when I think about that, and I think about like if you watch the show Lost, and they're like, okay, there's like 3 different timelines going on, how as an actor, and you're like, well, what do I know in this scene? Do I, we're filming all out of order. Do I know this is going to happen? Has that already happened? Has it not happened yet? Do I need to feel it or not? I mean, there's so many things to think about. I think that I just avoid time travel as much as possible.
Yeah, we had a lot of, I think there were a lot of questions, if I remember right, on
Mhm.
set. Like we had a lot of like clarifying questions as we were shooting each scene, just to making sure that
got very little actual in the way of answers.
Yeah.
I would
a question
basically-
back.
Yeah, it would the answer would lead to more questions, and
That's hilarious.
but that was kind of to some extent intentional. I wanted there to be a little bit of kind of unsettlement to it, and when you're not really sure what you're doing, but it shows up on your face. So some of the looks of confusion are legit. That's not acting.
But I always look like I know what's going on, Paul. Always.
There you go.
Always.
There you go. And I should clarify, I avoid time travel in film and in real life. Vic, how about you?
Oh man, when I looked at the script, I always read a script, no matter what the script is, if I'm part of the film, as just like a book. So I don't look at the characters; I just read it. Because if I'm trying to piece everything together after seeing it, I would have never guessed how it came out like it looked. But as far as oh man, as far as piecing everything together, it's it was just a weird concept after seeing it all together, and the storyline, half the stuff I couldn't remember that was filmed, until I seen it. I was like, yeah, we did do this, and then I'm going back over the script trying to figure out what's coming next, and it doesn't work like that, So it was just wild seeing it all play out. It was just wild seeing it after reading it, because we went through a little, shift of characters in the beginning, you know what I mean? And we all came together. And then we just formed a tight group, and we was on it after that. It was like, no stopping us. We was on it. It was all business.
Yeah, I definitely felt a unity. Like, even from the opening scenes, I felt like there was a familiarity between the cast, that you guys really were a group of friends that were just, taking a trip. And I really liked that, because
that last. We shot that last for that purpose. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. There you go. That's smart. Yeah. Well, it's, like shooting Hans falling out of the building last in case he really got hurt. You got to think about that kind of stuff. Yeah, but I really like that, because I've seen so many movies, especially in horror movies, where the cast is just thrown together. They shoot it so fast that you really feel like these people don't even know each other. Why are they together in this environment? And I did not feel that way in this film. So that, starting right off, that's important.
I want to interrupt real quick. Don't mean to totally cut you off. Sorry.
No,
but
it's all right.
I thought that everybody except me was like the whole time. So that's crazy, because I thought I was just kind of kept away. Things were like really, far apart with filming. So every time we were together, I was like, hey guys, hi, hey, what's up? So great job at the, immediate friendships, or at least acting like it. But no, I love everyone involved. But that is so funny, because I didn't know until right now that you guys were kept apart like that much. That's crazy.
That is, and you were the most isolated, I would say, from everybody, as far as what you shot, because your characters' appearances are very strategic, and so you're not part of that group. So that must have been a little bit more challenging for you as well. But how did you feel when you're reading the script and you're kind of picturing your character, and being the namesake of the film? Obviously, you have a different responsibility to your character has a different responsibility in the film from everyone else. Was that intimidating? Was it exciting?
It was definitely exciting. And I feel like even more like versions popped up than I realized when I read the script of Maya. So I wanted to be there, even if I wasn't playing Maya, just so that I could kind of see how the other versions were to act as well. So I could try to stay in, emulate that. But it was difficult, because I did feel like it was like I was isolated, but that's good because that plays into the character because she's
Right.
not supposed to be friends with them. So
Right. Jessica, how about you?
Well, like Vic, I read something like front to back, try to get a good, feel for it. Filming it, we filmed it out of sequence, of course, like most films, and trying to get at least elevate your acting at the right spots or decrease it at other spots just to match what the scene was before was for me a little difficult, just trying to match what the severity of the scene was or, whatever scene it was. Um, I don't know. I think after that the challenges were just mostly the challenges of the cold of the weather out there, the challenges of the mountains, the challenges of just trying to do the best you can and just different environments with different people who are all amazing, and you're just trying to all match each other in that moment, trying to make it
Yeah.
play just right. So for me, those were, I mean, this is only my second like sort of like film. So for me, those were the challenges that I felt that, that I came to.
Understandable. Paul, I want to ask you as the director, I mentioned how everybody really felt like they knew each other, that they had been longtime friends from the very beginning. How much did you have to direct these guys into being their characters, and how much of it did you just kind of let it happen?
Um, for the most part, the group stuff, by the time we got to the group stuff, they had kind of built this bond and they were kind of on autopilot at that point. That was all just kind of the built-in relationships at that stage. Victoria obviously had a little bit more of an isolated role, but there's scenes that she did have were with Seth, and she had built up enough of a rapport with him that they were comfortable, and it all. The only wild card, the point where I really had to kind of earn my stripes as director is the scenes where I'm kind of making the actors go through things with special effects in mind that they have no concept of what's coming. Vic is probably, again, I picked on him the worst because we shot this like in my garage with a green screen or something like that. And he has no idea what it means when you're looking at the script and it's like, floating windows and the universe is crashing and hell's behind it. And it's like, okay. But yeah, I mean, he a lot of faith. He put his trust in me, and hopefully I didn't disappoint. But yeah, I mean, everybody really worked well, and they really trusted me, which made my job easy.
Excellent. Yeah, that definitely helps. It's interesting, you hire people to do jobs because you believe they can do them, but you also have to curtail them to make sure that they're at least meeting your vision of it, as well as putting their own, who they are and who they see the character as. It really is. It's not a director-actor relationship. It's really a team. And I think a lot of people see the director-actor relationship as adversarial, and I don't think it needs to be.
No, it shouldn't, quite frankly. I mean, that's kind of an old school 70s era thing that the director needs to be kind of a tyrant, but that's not really the point. Whatever technique you use, the idea is really just to kind of maximize the effectiveness of the actors, allow them the space and the tools that they need to do what they need to do. And I think we were able to do that, despite, like I said, a couple of scenes are like we have a bar scene where we combine like Medusa, snakes, and punk rockers. Well, what the hell you do with that? But yeah, but
method.
Right.
but again, you kind of there's the trust, and everybody starts getting into it, and everybody totally understands that. Okay, I'm not sure what this is, but it'll work. And we're all in, and yeah, that's that teamwork. It's like in basketball, the no look pass. The guys won't be there, even though you're not looking at them.
Right.
I
Yeah.
had a lot of homework too. I had had to watch some films and study some characters. So I don't know if we want to give away the characters yet or anything, but yeah, he
Starman. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't seen that. But yeah, so
Did Paul make everybody watch the Boogans as part of your audition process? Because I have a feeling that could have happened. So I hate that this has gone so fast, but this is what's great when you have a panel of great people who are very passionate about a film. You guys all did a great job. I mean, an absolutely fantastic job in the film. I want to go around and ask everybody, and of course, like I said, don't forget to send me your links so I can put those in the show notes directly. But I'm going to go around and ask everybody what you're up to now, where people can find you, and then I want to come back to Paul and find out where people will be able to see the film. I know that it's still doing the festival circuit, so it's not on demand yet. Hopefully, it will get there soon. But let's start with our first position, Natalie.
All right. Yeah. Right now I am working on some music. I'm a singer and a musician as well. So I'm writing some music and working on getting a solo gig off the ground. I'm also a voice coach. I help singers. I also coach speakers as well. I have my own business called HeartSpark Voice. So you can look that up at heartsparkvoice.com, or you can just find me on Instagram. It's at Natalie Meowmix.
All right. Very cool. I like that. Vic, how about you?
What am I working on now? I got a project. Hopefully it'll come to light soon. I'm just waiting for the go ahead. So we'll see about that. It might take me away from here for a little while, but we'll see. And what else? On social media, you can find me on Facebook, Vic Rogers, TikTok, Vic Rogers, Instagram, same thing. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Excellent. Well, I will keep my fingers crossed for that project to come through. At least with the writer's strike now being solved, it seems like all of a sudden deals are coming back on the table. Like immediately, they were all just kind of waiting. So hopefully the Actors Guild will be able to settle their strike, and then we can actually shoot stuff again. But hopefully at least some pre-production will be going on in the meantime, so that once that barrier is broken, we can just get right back to work, which would be pretty amazing. Jessica, how about you?
Well, nothing as great as Vic and Natalie, but I have been working on myself. I became a Reiki master since the movie. Just been, doing some healing within myself. I would love to do some more, films in the future, but we'll just see where the universe takes me. So not much, but a lot at the same time.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Victoria Paege, I know that you have an appearance coming up. Is it November?
October 20th.
Okay.
And 21st, 22nd as well. But I think we're all going to be there, I think, hopefully.
Oh, good.
At the Artists Assemble Horror Fest in Mesa, Arizona. So I'm going to be showing up there, and we're going to show the film. So I'm very excited about that. Yep, so that's what I'm doing for that. Project-wise, and I worked with a production company, Antimony, a couple of years ago during the last strike, so that we could keep working, just do like independent type stuff. They now have a company called New Village Video. So I might be hopping into some projects throughout the year with them. But I run a coven from my home now, Jessica. And we work a lot with energy. My brother's a Reiki master, so not master, he's just certified practitioner. Sorry, he's not like, but yeah, it's been kind of a couple of years of self reflection and really working on getting in touch with just the universe and everything, and growing and learning, and yeah, it's been nice.
Well, sometimes we need to take a little time away. I think if we're just working constantly, we tend to ignore ourselves, and that will catch up to us at some point. So I think it's very healthy to just, take some time whenever you need to and do what you need to do for you. Your career will be benefiting from that as well anyway. I'm one of those people that's like, yeah, if I sleep though, I could be doing something else with that 4 hours of time or 5 hours of time. And I've learned as I've gotten older, you need to rejuvenate you. And that's not just sleep, that's eating well, that's, mentally, physically, all of those things. I usually take a break from work between 2 and 3 in the morning and I'll go for a walk. Whatever it is, be aware of that. And I'm saying that to everybody. Before I forget too, I just want to interject one other thing. My dear friend Dev Ross, who was the first female staff writer at Disney. She's the creator of the Land Before Time series, the Darkwing Duck series. Pretty amazing. Yes. Now that she has done, now that they solved the writer strike, she is going to be making an appearance in Canoga Park at the, what is it called here? You're getting old when you're like starting to look like this at your phone. Sunday, October 8th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Canoga Park. It's only $5. Go see one of the greatest writers and sweetest people that you will ever meet. You can imagine being one of the first or being the first female staff writer at Disney. She knows how to navigate some waters. There's a lot that she could tell you. Paul, are you guys screening the movie at this event?
Yes, we are actually. It's Artist Assemble Horror Fest. It's in Phoenix, the 20th through the 22nd, something like that. But we're screening on the Friday at 7, and Victoria is obviously a guest at that event, as is Brink Stevens, another one of our cast members. She will be there, coming in from Burbank to be a part of this as well. So it should be a lot of fun. The weekend after that, we're at a festival out in San Diego, where we were nominated for a stunning 12 awards, apparently, by their including Best Ensemble Group. So what you were saying about the actors, other people are noticing it too. Everybody was really good together.
Yeah.
See how that all goes. And then as far as distribution for the film, we've begun taking, we sent out some screeners. We're going to be sending out more and starting to take bids for it. But we probably won't have that all locked in until probably first quarter of next year. And I'll be actually taking November, December off for recovery from my health issues. So we'll take a little break and then get it all wrapped up so that hopefully it can be out and available by summer next year. Go from there.
So I'll take a quick sidestep and say we're all wishing you very well, Paul. Brain tumor removal surgery is, I can't even imagine the depths and intricacies of that. But you're a tough guy, man, and I have no doubt that you'll come out of this just fine.
I'm not super worried about it. I'm looking forward to what kind of crazy ideas I have post-surgery, because it's all going into a film.
Well, there could be a story in that surgery in and of itself, or what the tumor goes on to do after it's removed from Paul's brain.
Getting into Cronenberg territory at that point. It's not a life of its own. Yeah.
Well, I do know somebody who does practical effects, so if you need somebody to make you a brain tumor, let me know. So is DVD even a thing anymore? Are people negotiating for DVD release, or are we pretty much looking at video on demand now?
You're looking video on demand. You're looking at some Blu-ray, and it depends on where you're talking about. In America, it's 90% streaming, 10% Blu-ray. In other countries, the paradigm shifts a little bit. Places like Mexico or some parts of Europe, Asia, still have physical media as their primary. And so it's really just region by region. As you sell the film, it'll be a totally different deal.
Yeah, it's crazy how much things have evolved, but I mean, it's nice that we don't have the physical media as much because it's less plastic. It's, all of that. But at the same point, it's like, it's nice to have an item that has your work on it, and to be able to have friends come over and say, here's this project I worked on, here's the DVD, and watch it. But the world's evolved,
It has. I still fully expect we'll have some physical media, including I know a couple of companies that are interested in a kind of a limited release VHS run, which I'm totally down with that. I'd love to have my out on VHS for the 100 or so people that might want to buy them.
Yeah,
100,000.
there you go. Yeah. Come
Everybody
on,
goes back to VHS.
Let's go with that.
That's the tumor talking. I think too, yeah, I think about that. Like for me, I've always wanted to have a vinyl album. You know, I've always wanted to put one, but they're so expensive. You know, like your minimum run is 300. Shipping is what really kills you because the weight of vinyl it adds up pretty quick. So I'm gonna go around one more time, and
a big stack of vinyl there that I've been holding on to for 30 years.
I'm just rebuilding my collection. I had to give it up when we left Michigan, and it's always been a bit of a thorn in my side. So now I've been going back and buying it, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But like the guy who removed a sticker and tore the album cover after I purchased it, you just never know. I'll live. So I'm going to go around one more time and just ask for your final thoughts on the film. I mean, not final forever, but for the podcast. You're allowed to have thoughts well after we're done recording. Natalie, what do you think?
I think, I guess I'll just give, the audience a little piece of advice. Just go in with an open mind, be ready. You're going to laugh and you're going to be scared. Like both are going to happen. There's actually a lot of comedy in it. So it's a great tone. I think Paul did a really good job at finding it. And I just want to say, like, I've been thinking this the entire time. There is a drinking game somewhere in this film. I haven't determined like, what it is yet, but we're going to find it.
There's always a drinking game.
Yeah. So we're going to find it in the next couple of viewings and we'll let you know.
You know, I love that you said keep an open mind, because I think people tend to do this thing where they're like, oh, low budget horror, this is probably going to suck. And there's just that connotation. It's almost like the used car salesman of movies, right? You go in with a low expectation. But you know what? I have seen in recent months, if you guys aren't subscribed to Tubi, but you love horror movies, Tubi is free. Go on there. There is some amazing stuff. Both Daniel Harris from the Halloween series and Scout Taylor Compton from the Rob Zombie series have a bunch of movies on there. Ali Sheedy's got some really good movies on there. There's some really good stuff and really low budget stuff, but really, really good. So I would recommend you can actually search for actress on there, not like Netflix, which will give you one or two of their movies and 80 other things you didn't ask for. Or Hulu, which doesn't even really allow you to search for an actor, which I don't understand that at all, because that's why a lot of people will watch a movie. I get that they don't search for us composers, but for crying out loud, at least the actors, but don't set a low expectation, because these days with the quality of tools that we have available to us now can easily rival Hollywood in a lot of ways. And I think that people are getting more intelligent with the scripts that they're writing. They're getting better in the acting realm. They're getting better with special effects. Definitely an open mind is the most minimal thing. I would say even just go in optimistic and say, you know what, this is probably going to be good. Let's check it out.
Well, I would actually argue that this is the time that you should be letting it fly when you have a limited budget, because if you just make the same old crap we've seen 100 times, that's where it's going to end. You're not going to elevate beyond that. But if you do something that's different, and even if it might not be perfect, but it kind of gets people's attention, then you start to escalate, and maybe you get bigger budgets, and the higher up the food chain you go, that's where more hands get in the pot. So at the indie level, the Tubi films that you're talking about, go for it. Make your films. Don't make somebody else's film. Make your film.
Yep, very much so.
And what you did. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Victoria.
Sorry, I was just going to say what you did, Paul and Nate, like what you guys did with the effects with the budget that we had. I think it's incredible. I really think the effects are really good. I thought that the acting was really solid. Like I think every one of the cast members was amazing. Like I was like proud of everyone. I'm like, yeah. So and I have to say too, the second time watching the movie, it was a completely different movie. So definitely when you go in and you see it, you're never gonna like completely understand everything. There's films that you have to watch a couple times over. But yeah, it does. They're definitely quirky, odd parts that you're like, okay, all right, okay, it was supposed to be, it's fine, that's good, and then it gets a little darker as it goes on, and you're like,
Right.
all
I
right.
kind of like, I don't know about you guys, but I like a film I have to watch a couple of times. If I don't want to be a one and done thing. I want it to make me think. I want it to make me have a couple questions that I want to go back and what was that? Okay,
Yeah.
now that I know this, what was that other thing? And have to really kind of go back and maybe analyze it a little bit. I like things that make me think, and then sometimes I just want to shut my brain off and watch The Human Centipede.
And that was okay.
No,
Oh my God.
That was, Scott, that was always kind of part of the plan. I did things with coloring. If you watch it one more time, there are periods where events will trigger a change in color, the way that the film's color graded. And I don't expect the general audience to pick up on that the first go around, but the second or third time, it's like, oh, wait, I see what he's doing here. It's like a Pleasantville thing or something like that. And so, yeah, that was always part of the kind of the calculus is like, like I said, make your movie, people will either like it or they won't, but they should respect it.
And I hope that you do a commentary track, because I think those are great things to put on there. I learned a lot from the Stigmata commentary track, if you guys remember that movie from back in the early 2000s, because they would have a certain color show up on the scene before she would get attacked. And that was kind of like a subliminal precursor that until they pointed that out, I hadn't noticed it. But once they did, I'm like, okay, that's right. And I went back and watched the film again. I'm like, they did do that. That's pretty impressive. And so that becomes kind of a, I love learning when people do intelligent things like that in their films. Vic, how about you? Final thoughts?
First of all, I miss working with the cast. You know what I mean? I thought all y'all was great. Especially because we spent a lot of time, like when everybody else was filming, we would be sitting in the woods in the dark, just talking about everything and everything. You know what I mean? So it was cool. It was like, we got to do some more stuff together. You know what I mean? Paul, let's get to writing. You got to put,
Let's do this.
so it doesn't have to, it can be a drama. It could be something. I mean, I think we meshed really, really well, especially when we went up to the mountain and we all stayed at, whose house did we stay at again? Whose house was that?
Low.
Whose?
Oh,
The
Paul's house? The cabin?
The cat.
Yeah, Paul Lowe.
Yeah. It was just we became a tight knit family. You know what I mean? So it was easy to joke around. It was easy to just interact with each other off camera, on. It was good. It was a good. And I would say that I'm myself biggest critic. You know what I mean? I look for everything I do wrong, what I can do right. And so, but it turned out really, really well. And I was pleasantly surprised, for sure.
Well, one thing that's always fun is to have a series of films with the same actors in different situations playing completely different people. It stretches you as an actor, especially you get comfortable working with the same people. So you probably get more comfortable taking chances and doing things that you might not do with a first time cast. So
I like
challenge, Paul.
I like it too from a directing standpoint. You know what your actors are capable of, and you know how far you can push them.
That's true.
Forcing them to elevate their game because they can do it.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, I like that. So get ready for your reoccurring roles as completely different people. Jessica, how about you?
I got a Western coming up next year. So
that's right. Yeah. There you go. Jessica?
For myself, I finally got to see the movie about 2 weeks ago in its entirety on the big screen at the TCL, formerly the Man's Chinese Theater.
Yeah.
The acting was amazing. The special effects just blew me away. I couldn't believe, I was like, wow, this is taking a long time, but I can see now why, how, just really, really amazing these special effects are, that just tied everything together. And just watching it was like watching the summer with my friends again. It was just like being there again with all the actors. Just it was a great time. It really was.
I really like that. I think that's the thing, is that, especially when you shoot a fast schedule, you tend to bond with people very quickly. And, you know, Natalie, you know this from doing plays, and you guys know this from doing films, is that you guys do become a family very quickly. And then it's just over. And there aren't family reunions. There aren't,
Like,
you know, yeah.
Over is final. It's done.
That's like the hardest thing. It's like people go on to do other projects and you're like, but I'm not doing a project because I don't normally do that stuff. And okay, I'll be over here. You know, it kind of sucks. Victoria, how about you?
I mean, I think I kind of touched on it, but I was blown away. The acting I thought was amazing. I was so happy. I was so happy. And then I knew that we were really working on the visual effects. When I first started, one of the first things we did, I got to go down to Burbank and work with Joe Castro, which was really amazing. And you'll see why. So I knew that there was going to be kind of that element in it and different things that we were doing, but kind of like Paul touched on, it was difficult at the time because you didn't know exactly what the heck they were doing with all these weird lights. But the way that it all came together, I think works very well. I was very happy to see.
Yeah, and congratulations on showing at the Chinese theater. For me, that's a very special place. There's just some magic that place holds. It was when I moved to LA, that was the first place I did a red carpet. That was the first theater in California where music had played that I wrote for a film. I got to see a couple of red carpet premieres when I was there. There's just some magic about that place. So I was very excited when I saw you guys got that. How about you, Paul? Final thoughts?
Yeah, in addition to the Chinese theater, which obviously it was kind of one of those highlights, I also was fortunate enough to play on the Jersey Shore where I grew up.
Oh, wow.
I got family was able to show up and see it. People I haven't seen face to face in 25 years. You know, this has been a really kind of amazing experience, kind of getting this film out there now and having people kind of gather together with, like, even we haven't really been together as a group in years. We shot right before the pandemic, the world stopped, and you know, so now we're just now kind of reconnecting, and it's a real blessing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys
and
all.
Scott, one more thing. I just want to say this.
Sure.
And this is the kind of movie that you just can't turn it on or you can't watch it and look away because it starts like right then. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not one of them build up type of movies. It goes like right when the credits start. I mean, it just goes, it's that type of movie. You can't walk away from it because you're going to miss something. You're not going to understand something. You know what I mean? It's that kind of movie.
That's an excellent point, Vic, because you're right. And I remember thinking when I was watching, I'm like, okay, we're in. Like it's starting, And you're right. A lot of films they'll do. I mean, sometimes like a 30-minute buildup,
right?
And I'm like, like, can something happen, please? Like, I don't want it to be the last 5 minutes of the film before I care, because I probably won't get there. Yeah.
So it's a note to people that are going to watch the film: go to the bathroom first. Don't wait until the movie starts and then have to.
Yeah. Right.
You really will miss.
Yeah, and know where your popcorn bucket is, and if you can't find your face, just let it drip down your chin. It doesn't matter. Keep your eyes on that screen. Things happen fast. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. This will air on Saturday. If you would hang on for me for just a moment. Thanks everybody for listening. Go to these events. I'll have all the links in the show notes, everybody's links that you can click on. Go to the event, go see this movie, especially if you're in the Phoenix area. If not, drop whatever you're doing, leave your family. They're not that important as much as you'll enjoy this film. Go see it, and keep an eye out for when it's going to come on demand. Paul, keep in touch with me, and then I will make announcements on the show too in the future when it's ready. And thanks again, guys. Thanks for making a wonderful film for us to enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Of course. Cheers.